Got Sumit GUPTA, who is the CEO and founder of Bash Gaming, aka Bingo Bash. Like, can I say like the #1 bingo game on Facebook?
Definitely.
The number
All
one
platforms.
of the world
Yeah.
is right here. It's awesome. So, yeah.
Woo!
Woo!
Bash, man.
Yeah.
5 o'clock party.
Yeah.
Drink. Where are the drinks?
We had alcohol to start at 9 o'clock in the morning, but I don't know why
really?
it's not here. Yeah, no, we started out with Bloody Marys. I don't know. We should have gin and tonics now, I guess. We'll work on that for next year. You should provide that. You're making so much money.
All right.
Come on.
We'll sponsor you next year.
Yeah, okay.
All right.
He worked at Oracle in the early days and monetized media. Who cares about that? You
Yeah,
just
that's all.
forget about that stuff.
Doesn't matter.
All right, tell us about what's going on in Bingo Bash.
All right. So just want to have a quick view of, in a way, I mean, kind of we can talk about everything, right, in a way. So how many of you are looking to launch a game versus have existing games? Okay. I just want to know whether I should cater my talk towards more about, new bees versus, who are existing players in the field. So, and you guys are existing. All right. And which game is that, sorry? Bingo or slots or casino? Oh, not in the casino suite. Okay. All right. So I guess as I see around here, I was very surprised. A lot of casino, some things in the air. And I shouldn't say it, fingers crossed, but I've been coming to Casual Connect for the last 7 years. And every time I see a big dominating topic, or at least one of the topics, it somehow seems to me it's at a peak, right? But let's see how far this goes. So I'm just going to very quickly talk about some metrics. I just took the topic of cross-platform, in a way, the challenges of launching a game across platforms, and then we can open it up for discussion in any dimension you guys want. Because it's going to be a 20-minute talk, so just a brief thing about Bingo Bash. We launched it about 1.5 years back. Almost for more than a year now, it's been top 10 on iPad, top 20 on Android, top 30 on Facebook, top 40 on iPhone. So there's kind of a trend here, right, that the kind of larger the device is, it is easier to play the game of bingo, and smaller the device, it becomes a little tough. But it has monetized pretty well for us kind of across devices. And it takes a certain set of discipline and a very focused approach towards each one of these platforms to really make each one of them successful. So this is just a few times we are able to knock, right, initially days it was Dragon Wheel, now it's Candy Crush and all those games. But yeah, I mean, there are times when we are able to kind of knock everybody off the charts. In overall, for the last 1.5 years, we have gathered around 25 million plus installs. It's mostly from the Western markets. More than 1.5 million play every day. Around 45K concurrently. That's our peak. Just in general, right, for anybody who is looking, right, to kind of create a game, it's kind of important to know your audience. I mean, it's a niche and all the stuff, yes, I understand that, but it's kind of also important, right? When you're designing some of the UX aspects of it, right? Who's your audience? What is the demographics? Are they teens? Are they older, kind of females? They kind of tend to, they all have different requirements in a way, right? An article came out in Flurry just a few months back where they were talking about moms, right? Like majority of the moms, what do they do on their tablets, right? And it was surprising where more than 50% of them they use those devices to play the games, right? So it is clearly kind of dominating as a category. I mean, we all know that. So especially for the new people now, right? I often hear, or they ask, like, which analytic system should we use and all that stuff, right? and when we launch, we just use actually Google Analytics. It has plenty of good stuff when it comes to events. And we were able to measure a lot of stuff just by doing that. And many people somehow don't know that, but they do have the capacity to accept events. And if you just send all your events, we're talking about millions and millions of events every day, it still works. It works on sampling, and it will give you a good data. And you can do any cross-referencing into multiple dimensions. It can do all that kind of dissection. It has a big learning curve as compared to Tableau or others, but which costs a lot of money. So just so that you know, I mean, there are tools out there which are totally free and allows you to measure the data which you want to measure it, right? So in a way, take that extra time to learn it. It's very helpful. It really helped us because we didn't have any big data. We didn't have Tableau. We had nothing, right? All we had was Google Analytics and Flurry events. And we used that, to do all our analysis in the initial months. Generally, what we look for is engagement. That's our key metrics we look for. I mean, people ask us what is the most important metrics. You kind of measure, and it's all around engagement, right? That's what we optimize towards. I mean, it's kind of, and it is by platform. You have to, it's not like, one set of metrics will work on the other platform. To every platform is a very unique platform. But you got to do it. I mean, that's what, we measure it. That's what we optimize against, and it really worked for us, right? So just focus on session times. What are they doing? Number of spins, number of cards, number of games they're playing. And it is, again, this is all very relevant to casino. It's not, it might be different for other genre of games, right? User acquisition is another key thing, which is always one of a very tough market. It's a very tough aspect of a game once you are ready to launch it, right? So we just released our slots game just 2 weeks back and launching in the test markets. All we do is, if there are two metrics we look for, those are the two metrics we look for: day 7 retention, day 7 ARPU. Right. I mean, if there's one metrics which you just want to really focus on and engaging, like, should we add a tutorial? Should we do this? Should we do that? Even if it increases anything at some point of time, all you're looking for, there should be some metric you need to optimize it for. Those are the two metrics we optimize it for. And again, it's totally different for different platforms, different genres. A day 7 for iPad is not the same as day 7 for Android. Test markets, of course, you can pick your test markets based on the genre of your games. This is some data again around the deposits. Again, everybody wants to, like, look at, in general, how do you optimize in the ARPUs, right? So each platform has different in terms of first deposits and what do you optimize it for, right? So these are kind of trends around how Facebook. It's a lot of purchases under $2. That's how they get started, right? iPhone definitely is a bit higher, and iPad is another higher. Probably it is apparent, but it is something which we have seen from our data. This is interesting perspective, right? In a way, how cross-platform users have helped us stay ahead of the curve, right? That's an interesting perspective, right? In terms of our MAU, right, we're talking about around 6 million MAU, right? Most of the players, like the blue line, they just play on that one platform, right? And a small part of that MAU plays on multiple platforms. It doesn't matter iPhone or iPad or Facebook, whatever. But if you look at the amount of revenue they generate, right, it's totally different. So this is a habit, so that is one of the reasons you can use, it is one of the key things, right, which you can use in your strategy, in your roadmap, right, why you should launch on multiple devices, right, because you have users, their friends are on they use PC at work, but they use iPads at home. That habit which inculcates, it helps them to kind of remember your game. Right? These are a little advanced topic. If you're really into cross-platform, is how do you attribute the revenues you generate from a user you acquired on platform one, but they end up spending on the other, right? So, these are all the issues which come up, right? And I'm just talking about the real world issues, right, which we encounter, right, in this game, is how you end up attributing. At the end of the day, your user acquisition is all derived by how much of the lifetime value is, right, of that user or that campaign, right? Now, how do you attribute it if you have cross-platform strategy, right? So, there's no tools in the market which helps you address this today. This is another opportunity for any platform guys, who's listening. But effectively, going ahead, right, you want to calculate the effective LTV across platforms, right, and in kind of strategizing what should be a CPI cost, right, on any platform. But so far, what we have done so far internally is just treat each platform as independent. But these are all the challenges you will find. Some of the takeaways in general is, I still hear about whether casino or the dominating space and all that stuff. I still believe that, like anybody comes to me, I say, what, it is really hard. Even there's nobody who has done 2 games successfully in the casino space. If you look at any of the top 5, right, there's almost nobody. It is hard, right? But I do believe that the one I fear is some guy who's going to come up with a new game mechanics within the same category. Disruption will always happen in this space, right, in mobile. In the regulated space, it's a different story. It's hard, but in the freemium space, it is going to happen, right, believe it or not. So, there will be some games which are going to be created, which are going to have a better game mechanics in the same casino genre. So, it will happen again and again. So, you got to stay ahead of the curve, and you should try out. Some of the things we have learned is you try to combine. These are very high-level ideas, but these are the ones which really work for us. As you combine skill and entertainment together, right? And like slots games, you're doing in terms of the visuals, animations, the flow, UX, and you add some skill bonus rounds or stuff like that, right? So those are the new things which are coming up. Some people think that social gaming, just adding social gaming in itself makes it a good game. I think that's one dimension to it, but game mechanics is a huge differentiator. So you got to think about game mechanics, game dimensions, in addition to whatever you're building. Treat smartphones and tablets as totally different ecosystem. They respond differently, different session times, different everything. You got to treat each one of them as a separate. You can use the same backend for it, but your front end, your client will totally change, and also your user experience. Now, if you want to keep the economy the same, you got to devise different kind of syncs across platforms because it's not going to be the same viewpoint. Is it 5 minutes for the questions, or is it 5 minutes for the entire thing? Okay, questions. Because, this is all very high level, but I would really like to engage and see if there are any other questions. I can keep going on, but kind of one of the things I was talking about disruption is like iPhones, one of the key challenges for us was, kind of whether an iPhone player will have large session time or not, right? But, we ended up creating a lot of versions of Bingo, which had very small session times, didn't work. People wanted to play a regular Game Boy, and they ended up spending a lot of time on their iPhones. We talked about this. Let's skip this. All right, so let's open it for questions then.
What modes in Bingo work the best for you guys?
What mode?
What modes are like events and like what works the best in Bingo?
Oh, that's a very high-level question. The core game mechanics of Bingo definitely works, right? Now you want to just enhance
There's a
that
lot of
mechanics.
different modes in Bash.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is never one, right? It is all about making, it is about, I mean, actually, I don't understand the question, frankly. You know, are you talking about events within the game?
Yeah, yeah.
Like events mean we come up with regular content every few weeks.
Right.
Is that what you're talking about?
Well, there's regular content. There's different bingo rooms.
Yeah.
Is there any particular type of bingo room that works better than others?
Yeah, female audiences, they just love new patterns, new things. So some of them work, some of them do not, but you got to keep innovating. That's what we have learned is we don't know, I mean, we end up launching something which we think will work. Like on iPhone, we delayed our iPhone launch by 3 months because we thought the session times will be 2 minutes, snack times, and we just worked on a lot of rooms which were very, very quick kind of things. Didn't work, right? I mean, people didn't like that stuff. Same thing, so we did a lot of rooms now, and some of them work, some of them do not. So, but we just keep up the gas pedal and just keep launching stuff.
Kill the ones that don't work that well.
Yes,
Kill the ones that
yeah, definitely. I mean, move on kind of strategy, yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
So slot games are notoriously dependent upon a small percentage of players who spend a lot of money whales. Just curious, for bingo, do you think you're converting a higher proportion of the population that doesn't spend?
Yes.
Are you as
Yeah.
dependent on that quote-unquote whale?
I mean, we're still dependent on whales. I will be frank with you, but it is a larger proportion. We have seen that, we have experienced that. We have launched other games before, we did bingo. I mean, I've had like 6 years of kind of launching games experience, but bingo has a larger spread. There are a lot of, they do end up spending. I mean, we do see a lot of conversions happening after 3 weeks, 4 weeks even. In other games, a lot of them are front-loaded, right? We do find that our games are not as front-loaded, and a lot of them do convert at later times. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
So you said that your main metric that you look for is daily active and daily was it revenue per daily active player? So what is like a benchmark for mobile daily active?
They're all over the place, but I mean, day 7, I would say around 20%. Yeah. And it depends on the genre. I mean, for some it would be 15 and still work out totally fine. For some, it would be 25% and they're still on the edge case. So it totally depends on the genre. But yeah, just take kind of around 20% is industry average for the casino. Yeah, our average revenue per user, like, in 7 days, how much did you made from a user, by the end of the 7 days? It ranges, that is a that's a big range. It ranges from 0.2 to 0.8. It's a big range. Again, it's a big range, by platforms changes, but yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, you got to look for what the LTV will be for that user, right? Lifetime value, and at what cost you're acquiring the user for. So if your game can acquire, say, because it is of a genre which can acquire a lot of users at low CPI, right? You don't need a high ARPU, day 7 ARPU, right? So for a bingo game, it can range, but yeah, it is, I would say around 0.3 to 0.6, something like that, yeah. Let's go ahead.
What do you think is the best way to acquire users for a game like yours, bingo?
It's almost beer time, you know that? Yeah. Best way to acquire users. It's a tough question. You have to use a lot of tools. I mean, okay, one thing is that you got to start believing in your numbers. At the end of the day, it's a numbers game, right? When we make the games and we feel that, we have made it a game and it should be good experience. So if the numbers are okay, right, if you can, if you have the funds, you can get the funds and then spend in kind of in acquiring the users.
You said you're already
Oh, you mean in terms of channels? Yeah, there are many popular channels, right? I mean, Facebook is coming out as a very strong channel, right, in user acquisition. There are, of course, I mean, the whole conference is full of advertisers, man. I mean, there's so many. Yeah, I mean, you got to spend money, yeah. They do, yeah, I mean, they do work, yeah. There's no other way. You got to spend money to acquire users in mobile. But that's what I said. If your numbers are strong, it probably takes some leap of faith, especially for a new person. It took us some leap of faith for us too, frankly, right? But we saw the numbers and we said, okay, we're going to spend the money, right? And, it will take you 2 months, 3 months to actually make that money back, right? So there's some amount of time we are going to spend, whatever, 200,000, 500,000 range of amount of money, right? But if your numbers are strong, you should, feel strong, about spending that. Yeah. All right. Thank you, guys. It's beer time. Thank you. I just leave it.